DreAllDay.com.
You are now tuned in to the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative, which is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, is going to make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then on top of all that, when we get done doing all that, this is what we're going to do for you. We're going to put all this together into one bundle, one package, one method, one philosophy, one approach, one way of living. We have a whole system you can follow. We codified and laid it all out for you. It is called, if you couldn't guess, Work on Your Game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is the paradox of creating success. Yes, there is a paradox when it comes to creating success. You think that creating success means everything's going to be perfect. If you're in the pursuit of success right now, you might think, okay, well, once I get to success, there will be no problems, there will be no challenges, everything's going to be working perfectly. I won't have anything to worry about ever again. I'm here to let you know that that is incorrect. That is not the situation. Now, while it may be great to create success, I'm not telling you not to go after it. I'm not telling you to give up your process of going forward and doing what you got to do. I want you to understand that there are some challenges that come with it, but we're also going to discuss what you can do about those challenges. Now, while we are all out here pursuing success, understand that there's a flip side that many of us really don't think about that much, and maybe even when you're in the midst of it, you might not be thinking about it that much. But today we're going to address that flip side, and we're going to talk about some options for what you can do to combat the flip side of creating success once you realize that there is one, which you will by the end of this episode. Point number one, the topic again, the paradox of creating success. There was a day not too long ago, maybe a week or two from when I'm recording this, where I had the following items on my calendar. I had 2 interviews that I had already done, meaning I had appeared as a guest on other people's platforms. 2 of those interviews both published and went live on that particular day, which is a good thing because now that person is exposing Dre Baldwin and Work on Your Game to their entire audience, and now those people from that audience now get to come look me up, or they get, first of all, they get to hear and see me, and then they look me up, and if they like me, then they become part of my audience and they're reaching out to me. All great things. I also did one new interview, meaning I was scheduled to appear on somebody else's show. The show didn't come out yet, but the recording of another show, which is going to repeat that cycle. So then when that episode comes out, now all those people in that audience are going to hear about me, and now I'm going to get even more new people with their eyes on me and my brand and my philosophy and my frameworks and things like that. I also was scheduled to do, and I did do, 2 Clubhouse room appearances, meaning there were rooms that we had scheduled, and I appeared maybe on a panel with multiple people, or me and a couple other people, where we're talking about a specific topic, answering questions, going back and forth with people, and then because of that, people get to know you, they get to start following you. Now you got those people coming into your audience. Now, for a person like myself, who is looking to get his name and his brand and his likeness and his frameworks and his philosophies out there into the world, who want to get more people to know about who he is and what he's doing and how he's doing it and how he can help people, and selling himself and selling his brand and selling his products and things like that. This is a great room. Not a great room, a great day. These are great outcomes that happen on this particular day. I got to have fun doing the things that I enjoy doing, talking about myself and my brand. Everybody likes to do that if you have one. I got to do public speaking, which I'm pretty good at and I enjoy. I drew attention to myself. I got myself some new followers, made some new sales. These are all great things, all excellent things that happen on this day, except for one thing. And if you are reading in between the lines of this story, maybe you notice it, but I'm going to spell it out for you. Question: how much time on this day that I just laid out for you, just given the information that I shared with you, how much time do you think I spent doing the actual things that got me known in the first place on this particular day? What are the things that got me known in the first place? Now, see, getting known is not, I didn't get known because I was on a stage. I didn't get known by being on other people's shows. What got me known was doing the work, specifically writing and recording. Those are the things that made people know who I was. People knew who I was because I put the videos on the internet and wrote the articles and did the blogs and recorded the podcast. People knew me from that. So how much time do you think I spent that day writing articles, making videos, recording my show? Not much. Probably close to none on this particular day. Now, every single day, the schedule isn't quite like that. But on that particular day, I remember getting to the end of my day and I'm just reviewing my day and writing my notes out for the day. I'm like, damn, Even though this was a good day, I drew a lot of attention this day. There was a lot of publicity. This was a good PR day. This is a good public relations day. I didn't do any of the actual work that made me good in the first place on this particular day because I was spending my whole day serving the attention that I had drawn. You understand what I'm saying? And herein lies the paradox. The more success that you create, the less time you end up giving to the stuff that got you there in the first place. Now, the way that I originally thought of this is the more success you create, the less time you have to give to the less time you have for the things that got you success in the first place. But that's actually not true because the amount of time you have is fixed, right? Every day, no matter who you are, where you're from, what you do, you have 24 hours in a day. So the amount of time you have never changes. You got the same amount of time no matter what you do, as long as you're alive. And time is a man-made thing. What changes is the number of outside the external people, everyone outside of yourself who is asking for your time or wanting your time or demanding your time because of that success that you've created. This is the paradox. So you do all this hard work. Right now, somebody feels like they're really hustling, really grinding. They really are just doing what they got to do, balls to the wall, so they can get seen, get known, get heard, and do their thing. And you enjoy it. Hopefully you enjoy your work. And once you start creating that success, once the success starts happening and your work starts working, here's what's going to happen. More people are going to know who you are. People are going to realize how good you are. People are going to realize how much value you can offer them, and they're going to want it. And they're going to ask you to come on this. They're going to ask you to appear here. They're going to want to talk to you over here. They're going to be leaving comments and questions and sending emails over there. They're going to request that you be in this place and that place. And listen, I'm not saying all these things are you just having to give away your time. These people will be willing to pay you. They'll be willing to pay you to come speak at their conference. They'll be willing to pay you to be their coach. They're paying for the products and services and courses and workshops that you're setting up. They will be buying the stuff that you're selling. It's not just you giving away your value and time for free. They'll be paying for it. But even when they're paying for it, you still are dealing with the paradox. Because all the time that you spend delivering your value, the stuff that you work so hard to create, every minute you spend delivering the value, you are not developing any more value. You're not polishing the value that you already have. So for me, what are the things that help me develop my value? Well, there are 3 specific things. Very simple. Writing, recording, and publishing. That's how people came to know me. What made me good, let me back up. What made me good is writing, recording, and publishing. People came to know me because of writing, recording, and publishing. Now, more people got to know me once I do some of the PR and the marketing and selling myself, but without anything to market and sell, then it wouldn't matter if I was in front of an audience. So if I got in front of an audience of people and I had nothing to my name, I couldn't say anything. Hey, I did this, I wrote this, I published this, I have this many of this, I have this many of that. If I didn't have any of that, it wouldn't matter if I was in front of an audience because I have nothing worth talking about to give to that audience that they would say, damn, that's interesting, that's impressive, let me go check this person out. I couldn't say to them, hey, you can go here and you can buy this because I wouldn't have anything to sell because I didn't spend any time creating anything. So the fact that I spent so much time writing, recording, publishing creates the opportunities for people to know about what I've written, recording, and published. But then the more and more people know about it, now I'm fulfilling orders. Now I'm reading and replying to so many emails. Now I'm getting text messages. Now my phone is ringing. Now I got to deal with this thing over here. Now this person wants me to come on their clubhouse room. Now this person wants me on their show. Now we got to make sure this thing gets promoted. Now we got this issue over here to handle. The more attention that gets drawn to me, the less time that I end up spending on the very things that created the attention in the first place. That is the paradox. This requires understanding this paradox and doing something about it, which we haven't gotten to yet. This requires vigilance on your part so as not to get pulled too far away from the nest. Have any of you ever watched one of those Animal Planet or National Geographic shows? And they show the birds, especially the birds of prey, who when they have their babies, their chicks, and they need to go out and find food to bring back to their baby birds. The birds are always very vigilant to not stray too far away from the nest because they understand as predators themselves that other predator birds are watching them and watching for the moment that they fly away from that nest and leave the baby there unattended because they'll come in, swoop in, steal the baby and get themselves an easy meal while you are away from the nest, not tending to the very thing that you're out hunting to get food for the baby. But if you don't pay enough attention to the baby, it doesn't matter that you got food because there's no baby left to eat it. You understand what I'm saying? So that's what we're talking about here today. Point number 2. Topic, once again, is the paradox of creating success. This is why, after everything I explained in point number 1, this is exactly why it's so hard for many people to recreate their success. Because the trappings of success, the things that come with creating your success, are much easier to deal with than dealing with more creation of success to recreate your success. In other words, if let's say you're an athlete and you work really hard to become a pro athlete, you make it to the NFL, Major League Baseball, you make it to the NBA. After all that struggling and striving, you made it. Now you have a contract for $10 million and you're able to take care of your family, and you bought your grandma a house and you got yourself a nice house, and now you have all these new fans, you have all these new followers. Everywhere you go, everybody knows you. You are just going on this celebration tour of the success that you created by getting this contract. But one thing you forgot about, you forgot to work on your game so that you could actually perform well and stay in the job that you just made it to. It's much easier for you to go around and celebrate your greatness and spend time with your family and throw money around and go to the mall and take photos for photo shoots for magazines and all this. It's much easier to do that than it is to do the hard work that you did before you had the money. This is the biggest paradox of success, that once you create it, it very often dulls your blade. It softens your axe up. You are not as determined many times. It's not for everybody, but for many people, you are no longer as determined to work hard because you now have the success. Because the very thing that you were aiming for, you got it now. So why do you have to keep working so hard? Why do you have to keep grinding? Why do you have to go so hard for any more? Well, you already created the success. This is why, and this is something that I think about all the time. Why is it that some people, they reach the best that they can be, whatever that is? For some people, the best you can be is to become a high school athlete. For some people, it's becoming the best player in the world at whatever sport you play, or becoming a Grammy winner in music, or winning an Oscar award in acting, or becoming the best teacher at your school, or the #1 entrepreneur in your town, whatever it happens to be. Why is it that some people reach the peak of their potential, but they don't stay at the peak of their potential? Some people, they reach it, but then you see them a year later, 2 years later, 5 years later, they're not quite at the peak anymore. Maybe they're still very good, but they're no longer at the peak. Why is this that people get to the top, and they're not able to stay there? And one of the reasons is this right here. The trappings of success take away a little bit of that edge. That drive that you had that kept you staying up that extra hour, well, you don't take that extra hour anymore. Now you just turn your work in for the day and go to sleep. I mean, it's not like you quit the job. You come back the next day, but you don't stay that extra hour. You don't get there that extra hour earlier. You don't stay the extra hour later. Why? I mean, you already created the success. You don't have to do all that extra hard work anymore. When people start tasting those trappings, they get fat. All right, you know what happens when you eat? You get fat. If you eat with no exercise, you're going to gain weight. That's just how it works. The trappings of success are much easier to deal with than the creation of success is to deal with. It's much easier to go around doing radio and TV interviews and book signings and appearing on people's podcasts than it is to actually write a great book. It's funny, right? How that works out. The time and effort that it takes to write a great book it can be frustrating, it can be difficult, you can be banging your head against the wall, you can be looking at your manuscript like, man, when will I ever get this finished? Will I ever do it? Am I even worthy of writing a book? That's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of struggle and strife. But then when you do it, you finish the book and the book becomes a hit, bestseller. Now you're on everybody's radio, TV shows, you're signing books, you're a star everywhere that you go. All right, why would you trade that for the frustration and the struggle of writing another book? And this is why you get one-hit wonders. This is why you get people who reach success, but they can't repeat their success because of this very thing right here. While people do stay in the game, it's not like they get there and they just quit. What happens is they cannot recapture the hunger that they had before they had tasted any success. And the next work that they put out isn't nearly as great because the edge is not there. But is there something we can do about this? As a matter of fact, there is. You're in the right place, and I'm going to tell you exactly what it is when we get to point number 3. Today's topic, once again, is the paradox of creating success. Number 3, this is why, after everything I've said so far, here's the key. Your personal drive must be bigger than any money or trophy or public attention. I'll repeat it. Your internal drive to create and recreate your success must be bigger and stronger than any amount of money you can make, any trophy, the biggest trophy that you could possibly win, or the public attention of whoever, no matter how many it is, no matter who it happens to be. If your drive is only to get money, trophies, public attention, as soon as you get it, your drive is gone. Therefore, you will not be able to recreate your success. You'll create it, but you won't be able to do it again. So you'll know what it feels like to be at the peak, but you won't be there, which is even worse. It's one thing to not be at the peak because you've never been there. It's another thing to not be at the peak, you've been there, but you can't get back. It's worse because you know what it feels like to be there. It's another thing if you ain't been there yet. At least you don't have the longing of what it was because you don't know the experience. See, the hunger for these externalities, a certain amount of money to get some kind of recognition, to get attention, to get followers, fans, all of those things. And everybody has maybe some want for that on some level because it serves the ego. But those hungers can all be satisfied. You can satisfy the hunger for a trophy because as soon as you get one, okay, you got your trophy, done, over. You can satisfy your hunger for money, okay, you got the money. Now, you got more money than you could ever spend. Now what are you going to do? Now you have attention. Everybody knows you. Now what? Those things can be satiated. Those hungers can be satisfied. What do you have after that? You don't have anything else. You're no longer starving. All right, why would you come to the gym early? Why would you stay in the studio late? Why would you send that extra email? Why would you make those last 5 cold phone calls to sell whatever you're selling? Why stay up late and write that extra chapter in your book? Why spend another hour, again, working on your song or working on your next book or doing push-ups or shooting jump shots? If the drive was money and now you have money, what else is going to bring you to the office? What else is bringing you to the gym? What else is keeping you working? What's going to keep you making sure that the work that you put out is actually good if the thing that you were doing all that work for has been satisfied? It would be really good if you figured that part out now, even before the trappings start to entrap you. So if you look at people who have been able to recreate their success over and over and over again, I mean, they created success, then people knew about them, and they had the attention, they had the fame, they had the money, or whatever it is that they wanted. They were able to do it, but then they were able to stay good. They were able to still have that drive. They still had the hunger. They still had the thirst. They still had the motivation. I guarantee you it's because their original drive from the very beginning was not about money. It was never about money to begin with. So whenever you hear someone who is publicly noted for having made a lot of money, whatever you consider to be a lot, and they say something like, yes, the money is good, but it's not about the money, understand, if they're a person who has been able to recreate their success and get better, even after they had the trappings that most people are striving for every day, then they're telling you the truth. You look at somebody like Michael Jordan. When I'm recording this, it was not too long ago Michael Jordan's birthday, and they did there was a tribute video they showed on Twitter that I was looking at. NBA posted on Twitter, and then of course on Instagram there was stuff, and I don't think I've seen anything else, but a bunch of people posting things. Michael Jordan's birthday. He is widely regarded as the greatest basketball player of all time, at least in everybody's top 2 or top 3. And I'm thinking about Michael Jordan. His last season in the NBA, he was, I believe, 35 or 36 years old. His salary for that season was $33 million. $33 million for the season. And the NBA contract is guaranteed, which meant as soon as he signed the contract, the Bulls owed him $33 million no matter what he did. But Michael Jordan, that last season, played as if his whole career depended on it. Now, this guy already had 5 championships. He was already in multiple-time MVP. He was already regarded as one of the greatest players of all time, if not the greatest player of all time. Everyone already agreed that he was better than everybody else who was playing in the league. What did he have to prove? He didn't really have anything to prove, but he had some internal drive that he later explained in that Bulls Michael Jordan documentary on ESPN in the spring of 2020. That it was, he never even talked, I don't think Michael Jordan never even spoke about money. Michael Jordan's a billionaire. He never talked about money when you ask him about playing his sport. He says, always just about my competitive drive. I just want to win. My thing is about winning. On the basketball court, it was all about winning. It was not about how much money he was making, because if it was about that, he was making more than everybody else in the league. So that couldn't have been the drive. It wasn't about attention. He had more of that than everybody. It wasn't about endorsements. He had more of that than everybody. It wasn't even about amassing championships, because at that point he had more of those than anybody else in the league. He had no need for that number 6 championship. Who was he competing with? Who else had 5 that was playing? Nobody who was playing had 5. The closest guy was Magic Johnson had 5, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, they had 5, but they weren't playing anymore. And everyone agreed Jordan was better than them anyway. The only other guy up there was, I guess you could say, somebody like Robert Orr later on, but he didn't even have his yet. And then you had somebody like Bill Russell, who has 11 championships. Well, Jordan wasn't going to stick around that long to catch Bill Russell, but people had already agreed Jordan was better than Bill Russell, despite the fact that Bill had more championships. What was Michael Jordan's drive? It wasn't about what most of us call, quote, success. What most of us call, quote, success is the trappings, the money, the attention, the fame, the followers, the recognition. Michael Jordan already had all of that, more than most people have even to this very day, but he was still driven as if he was the brand new guy who has something to prove. So for you, what is your drive that's bigger than the quote unquote success or the trappings of that success? Because you're going to need to know what that is. Hopefully, ideally, you know it before you get to the success. If you get there and you don't know what that drive is, you won't go as hard anymore, and then you'll become the person who reached the peak but couldn't stay up there. Getting up there is one thing, staying up there is another. There are two completely different jobs, and that's what we talked about here today. Let's recap today's class, which is the paradox of creating success. There was a day not too long ago, I had 2 interviews come out, did another interview, did 2 clubhouse rooms. It was fun. I got to do public speaking, attention, follower sales, all great, except for the fact that I didn't spend any time that day doing the very things that made me good in the first place. This is the paradox of success. The more success you create, the less time usually you end up devoting to the very things that made you successful in the first place. This requires vigilance on your part so you don't fly too far from that nest. Point number 2, this is why it's so hard for people to recreate success, because the trappings of success are much easier to deal with than the creation of success in the first place. It's much easier to do interviews and book signings than it is to actually write a book. So while you may stay in the game, you don't recapture the hunger from before you created success, and then your next work isn't as great, and then you slowly start to slide down that hill, which is why, point number 3, your internal drive must be bigger than your money, trophies, or public attention that you're after, because those hungers can eventually be satisfied. So what do you have after that? When you're no longer starving, would you come to the gym early? Would you stay up late and write an extra chapter of that book? Would you spend another hour in the studio? If the drive is no longer money, what else is bringing you to the office early? That would be good for you to figure out right now before the trappings have actually entrapped you. So anything that you hear in today's episode that resonated with you, if something really hit you, it gave you a different way of looking at things, gave you an insight, I want you to text me or let me know about it. Here's my number, 305-384-6894. Once again, 305-384-6894. Send me a text and let me know what here really resonated with you, what you liked the best in today's episode. Work on your game. Dre, all